So we just finished routing out the corner of the bench. So essentially all four corners are routed out with the straight bit. Now we're going to go around each one of these notches on each side with the rabbet bit. And this rabbet will create a 1/2 inch notch. And we set the depth to 1/2 inch, so it's a 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch. I have that bit in my router, and I've actually built a base plate to make the router a little more stable on top of the bench. Okay, so we've just finished going around each notch with the rabbet bit, top and bottom, and this is what we are left with. So the next step is the leg. We have to use the dado blade on the table saw to make a notch to fit this. So that's what we're going to do next. So the next step in this process is actually determining where the dado needs to exist on the leg so we can attach it to the bench and get the proper height. Let's clamp it down. What I want to do is get the top aligned so it's nice and even, and then you can see there's just a little bit of excess at the bottom. We'll cut that off with the bandsaw. That's good. So what we're determining here is where will the top of the dado exist. So this line right here is telling me it'll be right about here. So if I mark that, that is going to be my starting point. So I take my right angle. So now we have a starting point. So I have the Freud dado blade set, and I'm using 5 blades. Gives me 5/8. So at this point, I just want to mention different ways of sliding the leg across. So in this case, I have a miter gauge with just a board across the back, and essentially you could slide the leg across and just make your cut. But for rocking chairs, which is something I make quite a bit, I actually have this set up here, and it's a sled with a square back. So basically you set the leg on here and you make your cut. What the advantage of this one is that it's raised up. So if you have a rear leg, basically it sits like that, and there are times when it would hit on the one side. So it's raised up so it can handle an angle and go across. So I like using this one just because it's set up well. I know it's square. I know this is square. I've made a lot of cuts on it and I trust it, so I also kind of know where the edges are, so it works really well. So one of the first things I need to do is I need to actually set up the blade. So what I want is a 1/2 inch. So when we made the rabbet in the top of the bench, it was a 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch. So this notch in the leg also has to be 1/2 inch. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get a really rough measure of where 1/2 inch is. It's right about there. Okay. I never trust that, so what I do is I do a test cut. So I'm just going to do a quick cut here. So if I measure that, it's very, very close to 1/2 inch. So I'm at the point right now where I'm going to start making the dado cut in the leg. I don't know exactly where the blade is going to hit. So what I do is I actually chase it from both sides. So what I'll do is I'll make a cut just shy of the top line, and then I'll chase it upward. Now the blade is set to 5/8 inches. And this is 13/16. So if I make a cut, I have plenty of clearance. So I'm able to make a cut that clears both these lines, and then I'll just chase this one up. Once I get to the point where I'm happy with where it sits on this line, then I'll start chasing the line downward and fitting it each time on the bench. So now that I have the dado cut to meet my line, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start chasing this line downward and each time fitting it, because this line is just an idea of where the bottom is, but I want to physically measure it. So we'll start cutting until we get to that right spot. So what I've done is I've fit the leg to the tongue. So I just kept making cuts until I got it nice and close. Now what I can do, now that I know this measurement on this side, now I can just cut the front side to match it. So what I've done is I've now made this cut on this side to match this. So now this should just fit on, just like that. Now it doesn't fit all the way on because now we have to make a round on this edge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the round on the inside. So you got to make sure it's on this side. So we're rounding the part that has the 2 notches on it. When I'm routing it out, I don't need to go too deep. Basically, I want to go from about there to the top. Okay? We've cut the notch, we raveted out 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch. We made a notch in the leg on 2 sides, 3/4 inch round over.